Sorry, Mr. Newman, to make sure that we are live.
Oh, okay. We are live?
I'm just waiting for it.
Oh, okay. We're just going to check.
It generally takes about sort of 90 seconds to come up.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
You're just trying to...
Yeah.
Here we go.
All live now?
All live.
Righto, so welcome along to the council meeting on this Tuesday, the 21st of April. We are live streaming, and council meeting's going to open the meeting for us this morning. So thank you, John.
Okay. There's a time the council's got a lot of challenges facing up with rate increases in government demands, and the main way I see forward is that if the council and staff work together as we're doing, but just to kind of keep it, just be one group who's just touching our town and district, that we'll still start to see amazing results, because this is an amazing town, amazing community with amazing council and amazing staff, and together working with the community, we can make this place a much greater place. And so my prayer is that we move forward with much wisdom, yeah. So I just pray that we may be wise in all our decisions. So that's it.
Thanks, John. Couldn't agree more. There's no public forum that I'm aware of. No apologies as we're all here. There's no visitors that I'm aware of. Conflicts of interest. Council remind if they have any pecuniary interest in any item on the agenda, they must declare the interest and refrain from discussing or voting on the item, and are advised to withdraw from the meeting table. Does anybody have any conflicts?
Perceived conflict of interest with the contractors thing. I don't have anything to do with that side of the business. I don't, but I just want to.
Probably perceived, yeah. No, cool, thanks, Lou.
I have one as I'm on the committee of Waimate together, so item 16.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah, I've got a perceived interest with Waimate together.
Cool, thank you, John. Identification of major or minor items, there's none that I'm aware of. Moving on to agenda item 7.1, minutes of the council meeting held on the 24th of March 2026. I'll take it as read. Is there any alterations, corrections or discussion? If there's not, can I have somebody move the recommendation on page 6? Move Councillor Patterson, seconded Councillor Small. Put the motion, all in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. For that, moving on to my report on page 17. I'll take it as read. Probably one of the things that was there was Stuart and I had a meeting with the Regional Public Service Director, Guy McDermott, that's the name. So she's in charge of all the social services, and she's a link between central government and local agencies and things like that. So she has given me a contact for the lady that's in charge of the funding for mental health for the South Island, and I intend to hold a meeting with her and Centre Care, looking at can we secure some more sustainable funding for Centre Care. So you're on that committee, Jackie, aren't you?
Yes.
And that, so we'll get together and organise a meeting and see if we can help them out. So I know they are struggling for funds, even though they think they've just got a grant.
Yeah, they've been successful with 40,000 from lotteries.
Yeah.
But still a splash in the open. They are saying, they did say yesterday that a lot of people are struggling to afford, even though their fee is very nominal. They think there's potentially people not accessing because they can't afford it, and they can't afford to drop the fee at this stage. So any funding they can.
So we will do that. And the other thing, congratulations to Rick and the team on the disc golf. Fantastic event, well done, Dylan. And that, it was fantastic to see that park was just humming for that whole weekend with, you know, the cricket and the disc golf and everybody else was there. The place looked immaculate. Well done, Steve. You know, it was a real credit. Everybody I spoke to, just when are we holding the next one? You know, we're coming back and that sort of thing and that. So it was an outstanding weekend and it really showcased the district. So congratulations to the councillors and council workers who are heavily involved in that, and all your volunteer teams and things like that. It was, you know, one out of the box, and hopefully I'm looking forward to the next international tournament that's going to be held there. No pressure. So unless there's any other questions.
That Road and Controlling Authorities Forum.
Yep.
Is that all about SGM?
It was a bit like watching paint dry and that sort of thing. Just discussing funding and stuff like that, and yeah, there was nothing in it that was obvious.
Nothing new.
Nothing new, same old stuff. So I'm happy to move my report. Have a seconder. Seconder, Councillor Stevens. Put the motion. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carries. Moving on to the councillor's report on page 19. So if you've got anything here that you'd like to highlight, now's the opportunity.
Say the Historical Society now has a new interim chair and a new board moving forward, so we'll be getting everyone up to speed and hopefully.
John Cole's come and saw me. That's great news. And that looks they've got, I think he said 7 on the new board. And that, so hopefully it'll be great to see some movement in the area, and maybe we can reconvene the discussions around ownership of the building and really start to push forward on that. It would be great to get it tidied up. Anything anybody else wants to highlight? John?
Okay, I've got a couple of points. I met with Janet Quigley, who's the health promotions lady around South Canterbury, around Waimate, and she came back and she was full of praise for the council for the stadium reduced fees for the kids and also for the community on Tuesday, the community group meeting on Tuesday, she's kind of saying and asking us, if we can keep the fees down for libraries and things and the pool down so that families can enjoy our really good structures events, like the pool, swimming, and the town library and things like that, which young families are starting to use more. And she's saying, let's keep the families in Waimate busy, rather than sending them off to our neighbouring towns because they can't afford it. And the second thing is that I was on the Mural Climate Reference Group, and they were kind of saying how good they're doing, and I asked them a question. I say, can you actually email out a report of what you're actually doing with our money, so I can report back to our council? And they said they would. I have not received it yet, so I'll go back and do push it, because we're paying money, and it's like we don't want to spend ratepayers' money if it's not going to, hit back on, if we're not going to get anything coming back to what Waimate. If it's only talk, and then I don't see the point. And so I'll go and send Dan another email asking for this report. And once I get it, then I will submit it to the council.
We'll wait with anticipation. Right, anything else anybody else wants to raise? If there's not, can I have somebody move the reports? Move Councillor Small, second to Councillor McAwee, put the motion, all in favour say aye. Against, carried. Moving on to the Chief Executive's reports, Stuart?
I'll just take this in, if there's any questions from council.
Just around your Fonterra meeting, how are things going there? Like,
Yeah, so I meet with.
just a local catch up?
Yeah, so I meet with the stakeholder affairs officer and the chief executive of the local plant, and we just have a catch up and talk about how the district's going. They did raise one issue which I put on to Rob, and that is to have some declared rows for 50 to 54 tonne axle weight. And Rob has dealt with that. Apart from that, they just gave an update on their investments at the factory, that things were looking good. They commented that they thought that the district was doing well. Generally those meetings last about 15 minutes, we have a cup of coffee. So I think it's important to catch up though and get face to face.
Do you meet with Oceania?
No.
Do you want me to suggest it?
Yeah, it would be good. It seems to sort of ebb and flow in terms of opportunities to meet depending upon the chief executive of the day.
Right.
But I'm happy to meet with them at any time.
Joe, is 54 tonne, is that another lift? And what?
I'd probably have to we'll take advantage of Rob being in the room, if that's okay, Rob.
That's with the 9 axle trucks that are configured to take the 50 max. So we've been operating the Oceania routes on most of their routes, except for a few bridges, operating at 54 tonne.
So they were just seeking clarity on those routes and making sure that it was all signed off. I think it's, Rob, I think it's signed off through NZTA, but we sort of give approval, don't we, or acknowledgement for that process.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Stuart? If there's not, I'm happy to move his report as accepted. Seconded. Second, Councillor Stevens, put the motion all in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you for that. Moving on to agenda item 13, which is the council actions report. Just the 3 items. And that, obviously we haven't had, there's no update on the fire and emergency that I'm aware of.
We have.
Oh, we have.
We have been chasing up 3 times since the last report, and we now have a meeting confirmed for, I'm not sure which date.
Friday the 8th of May.
Oh, good. Hopefully we'll get some more action, or some action. And then the other 2 obviously are just the St Andrews Closed Landfill report, which we're all aware of, and the local government funding agency annual report sign off.
I just wonder with that one, like, that's for the June 25 report and it's still sitting in here waiting to be done and nothing's happened. If it's not that urgent and it's not going out, why does it need to be there? It's almost due for the other report, the 26 report. Like, why is
It
it?
could come out.
It wasn't related, excuse me.
Tina?
I think the action wasn't in relation to that resolution specifically. I think it was in relation to a note. Right, okay, a note that had been documented with it. So as it reads, it could be ambiguous.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Channa. Right, somebody move the council action report.
Yeah.
Councillor Beard, second to Councillor Patterson, put the motion all in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you for that. Moving on to agenda item 14.1, which is the human resources report. Good morning, Grace.
Good morning all. Okay, the report is read, and does anyone have any questions? No.
So has everybody met Satari?
Yes.
Would you like to introduce Satari?
Yeah, so this is Atari, and yeah, comes over. So she's our new governance support MPA to the NIA. So yeah, I'm sure you would have sent an email after, thank you everyone, and yeah. So she'll sit over there shortly.
I just want to say, it's really pleasing to see some progress on getting these roles filled. And, good job. I know it's a tough market out there, so. And I love getting the introductions for the new staff. That's awesome.
That's really good.
Really great to get to know who someone is.
And I'm sure you'll have all seen that we've advertised for a new communications advisor, as Redditch is unfortunately seeking greener pastures on the west coast and that. So we'll go through that process of finding a replacement for Redditch. It's just wishing well and might get some interesting discussions. Any questions for Grace at all?
Good report, thank you.
Well, okay. If there's not, thank you very much. Can I have somebody move the Human Resource Manager's report as accepted? Move Councillor Small, seconded Councillor Guildford. Put the motion on. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Moving on to agenda item 16.1, the approval to extend contract period for the road network operations and maintenance contract. Morning, Rob.
Morning, Rob.
It's all yours.
I know we're proposing to keep it straightforward, to extend the contract for another 2 years, which is a provision of the current contract. We've applied to the Transport Agency and they've approved that. And so it's just a matter of getting the council's go ahead to just extend the contract, so it'll become a 7-year term. And that's the maximum we can extend it to.
Jackie.
My only question with it is in regard to the impacts of the Iraq war, and are we going to see contract rates change? It sort of read like they were going to hold their pricing, but do they have a force majeure thing in their contract where they can charge for their additional?
No, there is standard escalation clauses in the contract,
right,
which will increase our costs based on the fuel prices. It's a 10% weighting on fuel, so there will be significant increase in their rates. It's a bit delayed. It's a problem they won't really get the first payment of that until August.
Right. Yeah. No,
But
thank
the
you.
uncertainty is it's very difficult for a contractor to tender at the moment. And okay, the escalation will work in reverse, but you could end up with prices that actually are based on a higher fuel price, and they may not reduce significantly if fuel does.
Yeah, I thought overall really well written paper, so thank you. And I thought it just seems to make sense.
Yep.
It's a no-brainer, really.
So you're obviously happy with the performance of the contractor, Rob?
Yeah, the main thing is we need to get more comprehensive programming and identification of issues. That's the main. They're good at reacting, but there's a few things that should be a bit more proactive in programming the work before we actually need to react in a hurry, right. Especially if unsealed roads.
So this extension will give you the ability to sort of refine that.
Yeah. So we're just going to bring them for some of the conditions of the contract for programming, and there is issues with some of the lump sums. They need to do a bit better there. Like vegetation control on our signs and cleaning of signs. They're sort of not major items, but we are paid. They can do better on that, yep. And we will be sort of bringing that, continue to bring that to their attention. So,
thanks for that, Rob. Paul.
I think it's a really good time to have an extension clause available. not want to be going to the market at the moment. And I'm very heartened just to hear you speaking about the vegetation control. There's work to be done there, which is obviously been acknowledged, which is great.
Something I was going to bring up too was just when you're talking vegetation control, and I had noticed the road signs too, I didn't realise it was part of the roading contract. So with the vegetation side of it, is that talking about clearing culverts, that sort of stuff as well? Or is that separate again?
It's separate again.
But does that still come under the roading?
Oh, there's no direct requirement to spray around culverts. I mean, we're going to talk to them about doing some of that at the same time.
Right, okay, so that's...
The previous contractor used to do a lot of that,
Yeah.
but there wasn't a specific item for it, because every culvert's got a marker.
Yeah.
And if they spray the marker, they generally spray around the end of the culvert.
Right.
There is rates for culvert inspection and cleaning, but they're quite high, so we don't use them extensively.
So could that not be put into the contract then as part of the contract that you're also supplying somebody to do culverts and clearing and spraying of those areas, so it's part of the full package?
Yeah, well, we can introduce some spraying as a new rate on day works.
Right.
The trouble is that with lump sums for culverts, we have had them, you either don't get much work done or we can't afford to pay it. So to clean every culvert would cost us 100,000 at least, maybe more at a basic, because there's 4,000 culverts roughly.
Oh, okay.
And we've got a unit rate at the moment, and we can't afford to do every culvert as often as we need. So I think more spraying would alleviate that, and we just focus our culvert cleaning on steeper roads and gravel roads where it's more important to keep them clear.
There's been an issue this year with so much vegetation around,
Yeah.
especially at my way, especially the Hacker Valley. There's so much growth, which you don't normally get.
Yeah, we spent a lot more on vegetation control this year already. We've had to do a lot more mowing.
With the, just on that one, I'm just thinking of a few things that people have said. When we're spraying some of those culverts down the side of the roads, or the drains down the side of the road, we're spraying the whole drain instead of, would it not be better just to spray the inside of the drain and leave the vegetation on the side as a erosion protection? Because some of those drains are starting to come away with the sprayed, especially on, like, you can see them on some of the more visible roads. Was that something that would be considered, so that it be less spray as well?
We don't do a lot of spraying on the side drains, but yes, we don't. We just need to do the invert.
Yeah.
And that's a problem around culverts. The contractor used to spray away from the invert, away from the mouth of the culvert, and when the water is causing a bit of erosion on the shoulder. And so the downside is spraying a lot on the shoulder, you do get erosion and need to break on the seal.
Yeah.
Where we have, so the grass in the drains is doing a good thing in preventing erosion.
Yeah.
But then we just need to keep it controlled so it doesn't affect the water flow.
Yeah, that's cool, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Robert all? If it's not, move to the recommendation.
Page 29.
Oh, yeah, one there. One, the report is received, and two, that the contract for the road network operations maintenance with Renew is to be extended for 2 years from the 1st July. I'm happy to move that. Seconded Councillor Guildford. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thanks, Rob. Agenda item 16.2, which is the dangerous, affected and sanitary buildings policy, which, as you'll be aware, we all saw at the workshop. Gentlemen.
Good morning. Yes, we're going to go over this in great details, and you saw it last week, but the 2-week changes that were recommended have been made. So, if you answer any questions, if there are any.
It's easy. It's all fairly straightforward. As said, we've all seen it. So, yeah. So, if there's no questions, we have a recommendation on page 31. We have a mover. Moved Councillor Stevens, seconded Councillor Guildford. Put the motion, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you for that. Moving on to the next item, which is the gambling and TAB venues policy on page 49. Again, I will hand over to the experts.
Yes, and the same.
Same scenario.
Yes. If you have any questions.
Seen it before. So, any questions at all for the team? It's too easy. Okay, the recommendation on page 50. Have a mover and a seconder. Moved Councillor Swell, seconded Councillor Small. Put the motion, all in favour say aye. Against, carried. Thank you for that, that's easy.
Yeah, I just thank the comms team and Shay for getting that around.
Yeah, get that consultation out. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. Moving on to item 16.4 on page 60, which is the elected members' remuneration, allowances and expenses policy. Good morning, Tina.
Good morning. This one's fairly straightforward, largely driven by legislation which Shay has updated. There's a handful of discretionary things in there that were confirmed by council at the inaugural meeting, i.e. the ratio of a salary for the deputy mayor is in there, but everything else I think is self-explanatory. Any questions?
The only thing, Deputy Mayor says provided with mobile phone. I'm not provided with a phone and I don't want one.
Provision in there for a deputy mayor to have that, however we're quite happy to not provide you with a phone should you not require one.
I'm just not sure it needs to be there.
Not for you, but who knows what in the
Right.
future. That's all that Sandy is, just for future reference. You know, you don't require one, but in future years to come, the person that's sitting in the seat may. So
Righto.
it's very much along with it, with a lot of these allowances and as a council, I would say that we run extremely frugal when it comes to councillors' allowances for different things and that. So.
The provision is there, in my mind, the provision is there because we don't know who may come on to council in the future and what their financial position is.
Yeah.
And they may need to claim the allowances to help them be able to do the job.
And a lot of this is set at a national level as well.
Yeah.
Because the likes, we had a big discussion about the security, when it was talked about bringing the security in. It doesn't probably relate to us as much, but some of the other councils around the country have some serious issues when it comes to councillor security. So, these are in there that we can use them if we need to in extreme circumstances, but like most allowances, they're not required for us.
Just a question on the fees relating to hearings. I'm assuming this is a national policy that you're bringing in. What sort of hearings would it be? So just because we don't really have a lot, so.
I think it would relate to
like licensing,
the lights environment here, and realistically, I think you would have to. Correct me if you're wrong. You'd have to be a hearings commissioner.
Yes.
And that, which I know in the
It's,
past.
and it's changing.
The licensing committee?
Yes, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, I was just like genuinely what
Potentially animal control.
Yeah, I think the licensing committee one is paid by the applicant. Because I know the costs of all that licensing stuff falls with the applicant and that sort of thing. I think this is more of the likes of environmental hearings and things like that. And I know you have to do
District plan is a big part of it.
District plan hearing.
Yeah.
And as I know, because we've looked at this in the past, there's a considerable amount of work that has to go into to become an official hearings, what do they call them, commissioner or whatever. And we've looked at it in the past, and it's actually cheaper to use independent ones than it is to train up councillors that may get one hearing in 5 years, and this has to be done every couple of years. And that, so I don't see that it's going to have very little of any effect on our budgets.
So it was already in the legislation, so it's just aligning it with that, but
Makes
I
perfect
agree,
sense.
it's probably unlikely to be utilised to any projects.
Just a minor question out of curiosity really, the allowances for the vehicle mileage, who sets those?
Government.
Legislation again. I just found it interesting, the amounts. You've got a petrol hybrid vehicle gets less money than electric vehicle.
And that was valid at that point in time too, because of course nothing stays the same for very long, but until such time as they're reviewed.
Yeah, government mileage allowances, yeah, they're set at a much higher level than us.
Okay,
And that.
interesting.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Tina or Shay? If there's not, we have a recommendation on page 61. The report's accepted and the council accepts the proposed changes. Have a mover. Move Councillor Small. Seconded Councillor McAwee. Put the motion on. Favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for your time.
Moving on to item 16.5 on page 70, which is the solid waste analysis protocol.
Dave's joined us.
Yep. Commonly known as the swap audit. Morning, Dave.
Morning. Thank you. I'm neither the author nor the authoriser of the report. However, the report itself is a summary of the attachment there, and it's really for information to be received and a measure of how well the district is moving with the solid waste activity, in particular recycling. So it shows that there is a marginal betterment, we'll say, from the previous report, which is pleasing to see. So there's certainly no increase or escalation. In fact, there is a marginal reduction. So that is a good measurement for this council.
Very good report, full of some really useful information.
It really was.
On that, and it'd be interesting to get it out into the public arena. Hopefully it's available, so hopefully people will go and look at it. And there's still believe there's an opportunity here for this. This is some of the areas we can reduce costs, is with obviously the organics is still a challenge, and that sort of thing. Getting that organics out of your red bin.
And some of the plastics too, by the look of it.
Yeah.
Like some of that recyclables.
But it had some really good data on it. Yes. So anybody else got any questions? John?
I used to see that in the report that talks about the battery disposal service at the resource centre, at the resource recovery thing, which I use a lot. But last year there was a battery recycling thing in New World, and I was going to recommend and that the battery recycle, another battery recycle station gets put back into the supermarket as it was. It used to be, but it ran.
Yeah, no, I think it has, like, just in the last couple of weeks.
Is it?
So I'm sure one of my staff said it was back there.
So that was a matter being worked through, and I don't know the outcome of where we've got to, but that was a matter subject for the property owner, because as you're probably aware, there is a risk associated with carrying out the activity. So we can follow up, but that was being further investigated and looked for that progression.
Yeah, because it's much easier to go to New World on a bag of batteries and get groceries and make a special trip using fuel to get to the resource recovery park.
We just had this through you, Mr. Mayor. I think we did check on the safety issue and the insurance problems, but we'll chase that up. But I do know, I think in the report there was 927 batteries a week.
Into the red bin,
It's a lot higher than what you think.
I just did a comment too. I was a bit disappointed. It sounds like Home Station there's a fair bit of wrong bin and people just dumping stuff. And I mean, I noted possibility of cameras, and I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
It's something we can look into through the improvements moving forward. Yeah, there's a few business activities for council where cameras would help support the business as well, so we'll have a look at that one.
So through,
Okay.
I'm just going to say through you, Craig, that happens at all of our recycling sites. People tend to dump a full range of what can only be considered as rubbish, and it is very problematic. And it's in fact the reason why the clothing bin was removed from Gorge Road office, because people were just using that as a rubbish receptacle as well, which is a real shame for the community.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that. It's a shame we couldn't get it back again and put it in a highly visible place or something, because like I noticed textiles are showing up in here, and obviously with Temu and Shein and all these online clothing companies now, people are buying items and using them once and throwing them away, and I know it's a massive issue in the major centres, but yeah, it would be nice to see if we could get them to come back again. I know it's an issue with people dumping other rubbish in there. And I think the other thing too is there's an opportunity for perhaps rural councils speaking to your communities around what's happening out there, particularly because I know Glenavy has been a massive issue down there, and we found out that a lot of that comes from outside the district. And I wouldn't be surprised seeing if it's the same.
Yeah, well, I did wonder that.
Your way, because it's
Right on the boundary.
Quite handy, quite easy to jump the boundary and get rid of your waste and that sort of thing. But I know that every time somebody contaminates one of those bins, everything in that bin goes to general waste. So it's a cost to our ratepayers. So
The other thing I think from reading this was, there's a list in there of what you can and can't put into your bin, and as a rural person who doesn't have bins, I found that incredibly interesting, and I wondered whether that should be put at the recycling station so that people actually know. Because I had no idea, like glossy magazines didn't go in recycling for newspapers. I just thought paper, but you can't take them. So, like, I learned stuff. So whether or not that should be at those recycling centres too, maybe just to educate people a little bit better from rural communities who don't have bins, what can and can't go in those bins.
Even for town people, that list was the best I've seen.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Like, it's like, oh, okay.
I was like, I had no idea.
we'll have to stop doing that.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, there was a couple of things here, and like, oh, I thought I didn't know that couldn't go in there.
Yeah.
So you just mean, so your education is a key.
Absolutely, yeah, it is, Dave, yeah.
Yeah, and with that, so just reference to Glenavy, so last week there were 2 whiteware items left on the ground, microwaves, and 2 car seats, large car seats. So indiscriminate dumping does occur. Thank goodness they're not in the waste bin because they were too big to fit. So, but yeah, it is a problem with each of those recovery parks and recycling areas here.
Do you find a pattern with those rural ones that in rural bins where there's a bit more population around them, they have less dumping issues rather than the ones that are a little bit more out of the way?
I can't comment.
You don't know.
I think that is the case, though, because I know the one in St Andrews
Yeah, it's quite well monitored.
is well monitored now, and I know from conversations in the past that there was a major problem there, but it has been alleviated with them being shifted closer to residences and that sort of thing. I think it's like anybody that you can get away with it when you're not being watched. And it's all very well having cameras, but we need to be able to identify the people that are doing it. Even that's a challenge. Paul?
It would be interesting to see with the bridge redevelopment at Wire Forks now and all the cameras that are up, if there's a behavioural change because of that. If we have records of compliance from before that happened to what's happening now.
Yeah. And obviously that's
out there at the moment.
Yeah, and obviously that's going to become a possible issue as the cycle trail gets going, and we'll have to monitor to make sure that there's no dumping of rubbish and stuff like that.
See, there's a trend. There's an increase with the rubble. Do you know if that's a nationwide type thing as people are trying to?
Sorry, I can't.
It's good. Okay.
It depends on the nature of business activities in the area at any given time or any season, I would believe.
Right, any other questions for Dave at all?
I would just say, can we get some comms out around what goes in our bins? Would be really good, just do a social media campaign or something.
Yeah, we're working on that at the
Also,
moment.
yeah, I thought you probably would be.
And just to confirm, there is signage at the rural recycling depots that says what can go in each of the bins.
They're not as, it's not as comprehensive as this list here though, which is.
No, there's only so much you can put
I know,
onto,
Yeah.
that's
onto
so
a
useful.
sign.
I know.
That list, even if we could like
Laminate
have that list on our website or something and have it so you could QR code to it or you know, link it to our social media in some way, because that is a really good piece of information. But even just that comms around green waste, you know, just some of those stats, because it's quite eye-opening that there's still a lot going to rubbish.
Can we put that out with the rates demand? Is there an issue there?
Cost.
Via email?
Well, the thing is, there's no reason why we couldn't, I wouldn't have thought, use the lights and notify me to send out, we can bump out messages on that, can't we?
We can send it out electronically.
Yeah, I think that would be the best way, send it out electronically. The bottom line though is unless you're sitting in front of it when you're putting your rubbish in the bin, most people won't take it.
I'm gonna print mine out and laminate it and stick it up at the recycling station.
Yep.
It's only 2 pages,
Yep.
it's easy.
Always an option. Righto, we have a recommendation on page 74 of the solid waste analysis report, the swap audit report is accepted. I'm happy to move that, have a second. The second is John Begg. Put the motion, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against carried. Moving on to 16.6 on page 97, which is the waste management report. Again, I'd say Dave's probably in the same position.
I am.
And that's
So I take it the report is.
between all of us, I'm sure we can sort out some answers if anybody has any questions. Again, just great report, great detail, great information. Good to see fly tipping highlighted. I think that's something we do need to keep an eye on. I know it's a massive issue in other councils. We're pretty lucky that we don't get too much of an issue here, but I know that some of our neighbours have big issues with fly tipping. Any questions in relation to that report? If there's not, the recommendation on page 98 that the report is accepted. Moved Councillor Guildford, seconded Councillor Stevens. Put the motion, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Moving on to 16.7, which is the Knottingley Park Memorial Tree Area Proposal.
Mr Mayor, morning,
Morning,
councillors.
Steve.
Got 3 submissions for you today, but the first one is, as Mr Mayor said, is the Knottingley Park Memorial proposal from the Red Cross, Waimate Red Cross. They've already got 3 trees planted in a reasonably small area by the Maple area. They want to extend that in perpetuity to include recognition of significant processes within the Red Cross and people who die. You see that there's already 3 trees there. One's for the 100th anniversary, one's for Joan Tyndall, and one's for Pat Arbuckle. And they want to extend that forever.
Cool. Questions for Dave? John?
What the species they think they'll be planting?
Very good question, John. The species have to be decided pretty much as and when required. There's maples in there, clearly it's the maple area. The 3 trees though that have been planted in the past by Red Cross are not maples. But what we have to be cautious of is thinking ahead 20 to 30 years when the trees are fully grown and the branches are interlocking, as sometimes happens in Knottingley Park, and the wind gets in there and those branches crack against each other from tree to tree, and that causes issues with branches falling off, either causing public danger or wrecking the tree. You might notice we removed an oak tree on the drive-in on the right-hand side recently, perfectly healthy tree, doing exactly that, getting branches broken off from the trees to the side. So that would be a conversation we'd have with Red Cross as and when they want to do spacing of the trees apart and species specific to the area.
Question, if I may, Steve. How do it's a lovely idea, and I know they've already got things planted there, but if we grant permission for Red Cross to do this, what stops us from other groups coming in and wanting the same thing?
Well, that might be a question for you guys. Well, you're dead right. That's why I brought it to council.
Okay.
It's not I don't think it's a prerogative of a parks and reserves manager to make those decisions. I think that usage of Knottingley Park is challenging, balancing each user, particularly with the public who don't generally have a voice in the processes. We've got multiple clubs and processes going on in there now, and so it's a matter of balancing that. In an area, an arboretum that is one of 10 only in New Zealand, so yeah, a challenging question.
So we don't have any pre-existing, or there hasn't been any past pre-existing agreement with Red Cross?
No, there's a little bit of a legacy issue there where individual managers and staff have simply agreed, for instance, to these 3 trees from Parks and Reserves. And you might notice that over in the back northeastern corner, there are a number of trees there planted in an area there which have plaques recognising other people. There's no specific policy on that, and I'd like to change that eventually. Again, at the moment, it's a case-by-case process, and that's probably all we've got at the moment.
Okay, thanks.
I think it is exactly that, Lisa. It's got to come on a case-by-case basis, that sort of thing. I don't think there will be a huge call for, we're not going to get 15 different organisations want to plant trees there. The bottom line, it's an arboretum. It's for planting trees, and I know there's ground adjacent to it that if we needed to, we could probably expand or develop an area, that sort of thing. So it all comes with a cost. But I don't have any issue with this proposal, and that it's obviously not impacting any other users of the park.
No financial impact, and particularly in an area that we don't generally maintain to a high standard. Yep. So it's a strip of land with a few trees on it, about 20 metres wide in its widest point, next to Horgan Road, and we spray a little bit, but we generally mow perfectly the maple area itself. We don't extend our maintenance to that, so no impact from us.
There is no limit, however, on the size and number of trees. Is that something we should think about? It says celebrate past members, that could be hundreds.
I guess that's up to the staff to know when an area is full, or we'll expect them to come back to us if it needed to be expanded, or.
Yes. I'm confident that the staff have the expertise to discuss with Red Cross species, types and spacing.
Any other questions for Steve?
Just to that end, what Peter's saying, I see the area in front of us here. Steve, and taking into account the canopy sizes you're talking about, I guess these are going to be specimen trees that are going in?
Yes.
How many trees are we going to be able to put up before this area becomes a forest?
I'd have to pluck that answer, but I'd say in the region of 20.
Yeah.
And that may mean the removal of some other non-species trees that are in there at the moment that have never been planted except for general ambience. But that would be very much a consideration at the time.
Sure. Okay, thanks.
I think it could be well managed by Steve and his team.
I think the overall principle is it's an arboretum, and it's one of those things that should be continually developed, and this is a way for that to happen at a community level.
Yep.
I like the fact that they would be responsible for maintaining the area to a higher degree than what we currently do, so that would be a benefit to the park.
Right. So are the trees going in the tree line here, or are they going out into this field?
No, just in the tree line.
Just in the tree line.
Thank you.
Righto. Any other questions for Steve at all? If it's not, the recommendation on page 116, the report's accepted and that the council accepts the Red Cross Knottingley Park and Arboretum Rural Tree Area proposal. I'm happy to move that. Seconded councillor Stevens, put the motion, all in favour say aye. Against, carried. Thank you for that. Moving on to the 16.8 on page 118, which is the Knottingley Park Club's jump colour scheme proposal. Nice and bright.
It's an arboretum, and this is a challenging one that I put in for me because it's a difficult to define quality, the ambience of the arboretum. So I did some background research on this. There's only 10 arboretums in New Zealand that are certainly the ones that are within a town or a city boundary. And we are one of those 10. That's a very important consideration, I think. What the Pony Club want to do, and there's no problems with the numbers or the locations of the jump, because they're simply replacing jumps that have been there for a while, for many decades. And what they would like to do though is paint them very bright colours. That may come into conflict with the public use of an arboretum and the definition of an arboretum, which is a wilderness area. And we're very lucky to have one smack in the middle of the town, accessible by people on lunch breaks. There's no safety considerations for a jump such as that. In other words, they don't have to be painted a certain colour for the safety of the horse or rider.
Oh, that's good to know.
So I'd throw that into your court and see what you think.
Did you talk to them about the fact that it might be inappropriate for bright colours or?
Yes, I did, and they're not super insistent. They're aware that it's a nice to have, and they're also aware that there's no safety consideration.
Would it be the different colors for the different, because I see there's different sizes of jump, so like each one that's this tall will be blue, and each one this tall is red and stuff like that, or is it just?
Not that I'm aware of. In fact, the attachment that I put on this is simply some random Google horse colours that the Pony Club have given me to say this is what we would probably be looking like. They aren't actually the jumps they've got in there. They are more of a traditional jumping triangular process.
I think one thing with them being a brighter colors might give the general walkers around, they'll be able to see them better. I think it'd be a good thing in that regard. Because otherwise you're just walking and you kind of don't see the wooden one, and all of a sudden there's a horse there that's possibly coming over.
We had considered that too. One of the challenges about Knottingley Park, it involves in some respects disc golf as well, is a horse at speed to take a jump. And we wondered whether a compromise in this situation was a single white stripe across the top of the jump that indicates that the jump is in position, that it's there, and perhaps alerts people to the fact that there are jumps and that there are horses.
A baseline stripe would be helpful for the horses as well. It's quite a tricky because I get it sort of from both, from the horse person, so get it from both angles. I think the primary thing for me, really exciting to see these jumps being upgraded, and be lovely for our horse community to have safe jumps that they can access in the park. It's been a really long time coming. So I think we need to be really, really supportive of that. I do get the concerns with colour and whether there could be a compromise to something less bold, but still some opportunity to have more subtle colours available. And I guess from a Pony Club perspective, they're trying to prep these kids to go out and do competitions, and these are some of the types of jumps they now see in cross-country competitions, which used to be a lot more natural in tones, but it's more common in a cross-country competition to see these kinds of jumps. So thinking about it from why they would want to have them brightly coloured. But I do agree that we do need to balance the purpose of the entire park against that.
I quite like the bright colours.
Yes, sir.
I think it's great. I think that way, like, so as you said, with people are walking through the park, they can go, oh, there's a jump over there, there's a chance there's going to be a horse somewhere, and that sort of thing. And it's been years since the jumps were used down there, and they were in shocking, condition. So if they're, I quite personally, I think the bright colours, it adds another dimension to the park. It shows that we're using it for not just disc golf and cricket, that we got the equestrian people using it and
There
that
did
sort of
used
thing.
to be some coloured like toadstools and stuff.
Yeah, there used to be the old standard, barber pole sort of posts and things like that.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't have an issue with it. I think it's, it's good to highlight them, that sort of thing. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure there'll be others out there with this, so they will be black and brown and blend in. But then that creates another issue. So
Well, the good thing is it jumps from the ground, not in the trees you're supposed to be looking at, so.
yeah.
Just one thing to consider through you, Mr. Mayor, that if they are painted, that, colours fade quickly.
Yeah, well, they need to maintain
If
them.
they are gonna paint them a bright colour, that they maintain them.
Yeah.
That would be my only comment.
The only thing there too is they've shown us examples, but they're not what they might actually finish up as. So I think there's got to be some discretion there for yourself.
Yeah.
If you think it's inappropriate, talk to them.
Yeah, I agree with Jackie. I mean, I'm super pleased that they're going to get the jumps up and running, and the park will be, used for horses again. I mean, it predominantly was always equestrian kind of an area along with the trees. And I liked the muted, natural look of what used to be there, because that's kind of me. But I'm kind of mixed on the bright, I can see your point of view of the bright colours with, like you say, letting people know that there's jumps and that there. But I kind of like the neutrality of the park setting as well. So I'm
balancing point.
I know. So I wonder, could we look at, if they have their bright colours, or they have their colours, could we look at more of a compromise of a muted colour? So instead of a bright red, you've got more of a rusty red, or more of a better kind of a green or whatever colour that's more muted, so it's not as vibrant, or maybe have some colour on it and not all colour, if you know what I mean. So you've kind of got that bit of both within the jumps. If they're not hard and fast on what their colour scheme is, we could kind of have the best of both worlds put into the jump. So it's not too in your face, but you can still see it. I know that's the only way I can sort of think about keeping everybody relatively happy. Because I did ask I asked a few people who use the park what they thought, horse people and non-horse people, and the ones that came back to me were, we like the park look, as in the natural look, as opposed to and these were horsey people and non-horsey. So it's kind of, it will be interesting, putting it out there, what reactions we get from people.
We get
That's what I'm thinking.
50% one way and 50% the other way.
Yeah.
You get people that say horses shouldn't be in the park at full stop
Well,
and that sort of thing, and then you're going to get people that safety's better. So
I mean, you've got shiny silver disc golf things stuck in there now too, but no, but so evolving, I guess.
Very unobtrusive, very unobtrusive.
Could I make a suggestion? Perhaps I go back to
Certainly.
the Pony Club. Perhaps I have give them a summary of this conversation and get them to present actual colours on actual jumps.
That'd be good.
and even the style of the jump, Steve,
Yeah.
because obviously you've just put something in here that's just to highlight the colours and that sort of stuff. But because they used to have
They're all
long.
Yeah, they're very wooden and very, very
Well, they're out there now.
rustic.
They're in the big field.
I guess the thing is, we're happy to work with them to come up with a suitable solution. And
Yeah, I think there's definitely a balance that can be maintained.
Yeah. Maybe go from lime green to forest green or something.
Yes. Yeah.
British racing green.
Yeah, British racing green.
Thank you for that.
Okay, so no other questions or suggestions? So we have a recommendation that the report's accepted. The council accepts the Waimate Pony Club. Maybe we could change that to council agrees to work with the Waimate Pony Club to identify a suitable colour scheme.
Do you want to come back to the table then?
No, I think listen, we trust Steve.
Jeez.
All right. Okay. Move, Councillor Stevens. second to Councillor Small, put the motion, all in favour, say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Must be small courses either that, or they're big houses, those little ones like that.
And just before I move on to the next one, thank you very much for that conversation, because I thought I might have been overthinking that a little bit, but clearly the conversation shows that I probably wasn't.
Righto, moving on, 16.9, Waimate Together Tiara Waimate Sculpture Trail. Thanks, John. So obviously, we'll take the report as read. As Dave, if you want to lead us, if there are questions or anything you want to highlight?
Just a brief summary. It's a 250 metre stretch between Goldsmith and William Street. Runs right down the frontage of Queen Street, clearly. It has certainly one sculpture and potentially a second one, multiple signs about 2 metres square, indicating the start of the trail and it's how you get there and welcoming and such. And the mural, which is 36 metres long by 2.4 metres high along the fence line of the Memorial Pool. Some of the aspects are that the fence along the side of the pool will not stand the 2.4 metre plywood panels at this stage. Builder's report says that it would have to be replaced. And when we looked at the fence itself, the fence would probably need replacing in the future, in the reasonably near future anyway. You can actually hold on to the top of that fence down towards the one end and rock it backwards and forwards about a foot, because the posts that have been put into the ground on the inside of the pool area have not been done in the past, and a number of them are broken. So to put 2.4 planks of plywood along that for 40 odd metres would cause a danger to the public in this first time the wind hit it. So that's one of the major issues. However, Waimate Together have said that they would pay for the replacement of that fence for that first 40 odd metres. Why I brought this to council though was because it's a significant change to the vista of Queen Street, and I felt it was again outside my prerogative to agree to such a significant change for quite an area in Queen Street.
So if you're just doing one side of that the fence, will you be doing the whole fence?
Yes, that's another consideration. No financial cost for the first 40 metres. However, we would be remiss if we weren't to carry on the same style or the same, or keep the fence right down to the other end. I've looked at the south-eastern side and the back of the pool as well. They are in far better condition, which would suggest that the weather is coming in on this side and putting some pressure onto that fence. So I wouldn't have to look at the other two sides of the fence soon. But yes, we'd probably have to replace the last 40 odd metres of the fence ourselves.
So would you just be looking at putting in new poles and using the same cladding, or would you?
The builder suggests there's a concrete nub, he used a word, about 400 high and about 200 wide. And what's happened is that the posts have been planted into the ground with very little, if any, protection from the elements. And then the nub has been concreted around them, and that has actually made the posts less stable, because they haven't had a chance to move and they've snapped off the top of the nub. Some of them have snapped off at the top of the nub. So we're probably looking at a different style of fence.
So we're talking about taking that concrete nub out.
The builder was a little bit concerned about that nub. He said that it's not a normal process.
No.
But yes, you're right. Take out the nub. Effectively a half and half replacement. Waimate Together paying for half and us to pay for the other. And you think it's likely that within the next 5 years or so that fence will need replaced anyway, based on its condition? The bill would suggest close to that. Okay. Yeah, more sooner than that, perhaps within the next year or two. Right. So for that part of the project, the potential is to get half of the cost of the fence replacement covered, and some public art, which is an extension of a lot of Bill's work around the town. So I'm not against the mural idea there. Like I love public art. That's part of what makes a town really vibrant. So I can see the sense.
I'd like to see and we'll come back to council with costings and that sort of thing with the total cost of the, and I don't know in your asset management plans whether you had anything in there for the replacement of that fence.
Certainly not.
No, okay.
At this stage.
So yeah, before we agree to anything, I think, you know, with things as tight as they are at the moment, I'd like to see a bit more detail.
40 metres is quite
bit more
a lot.
detail on the total cost of the project, what would be covered by Waimate Council, what would be covered by Waimate together, what we would be expected to cover, and then probably just a little explanation around the life of the existing fence and when we would be an assessment of the fence, because we're going to have to obviously replace it at some stage, and that sort of thing. So maybe we could get that in due course when you're able to do that.
Just do we treat sculpture separately?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Just through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm just wondering though, for the sake of this report, that we could approve today that if Waimate Together was prepared to fully replace the fence of which the art would be attached to, that could be approved today if you wanted to go ahead with it. The other remainder fence could be part of the LTP process.
Yep, I'd be happy with that.
Because I'm not sure where they might be in terms of where their funding is, and if it has to come back to council, it might just run foul of their grant process.
Yeah.
Is that doable?
Sorry?
Is that doable? Just one side of that fence?
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Just that side of the
Yeah,
fence.
well, obviously
Two sides, not right.
the new fence will be of a style that will be easy to be able to add on to, or and that.
Because you remember that Mr. Mayor, because in the proposal, the fence from a roadside or vista side is irrelevant because it will be covered with panels and painted. Whereas what we replace later will not.
Will have to be visually.
Yeah, true.
Or
So
we
these
might put
could
up a
be
panel fence to match it up or
Yeah.
whatever, but it'll be part of the LTP process, and this will allow Waimate Together, if it has funding, to apply that funding.
Would there be any issues with NZTA saying it's a state highway and a big mural like that?
It's not shading or
Visible.
anything like that, so I don't see any shades, and it's a reasonable distance off the
Right.
carriageway. So the existing fence, we're basically just replacing like for like.
No, but with the artwork on it, I mean. Yeah.
Well, or in the artwork, or there's the frames with the historic stuff on the fence?
Yeah.
So where do they go? Are they further down or?
They, from what I understand, are duplications, Rick, and they'll be removed and relocated elsewhere.
There's also a strong suggestion that came from one of my members of my team, that if we end up with a full wall across there with a panel, which is basically panels with a mural on one side, it does in the future give us an opportunity to put our own mural on the inside of the port to enhance that, particularly where the Waimate Together trail would be, because on the other side of that of the fence is the children's area and the main sitting area for parents. So it does give us an opportunity. I mean, again, it needs to be costed out and thought about a bit more. It does give us the opportunity to put a mural on the inside of the fence.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
something that I've actually not that location, but it's one project that I've discussed with the new principal from the high school. Is that they I know talking with the art teachers, they were keen to do a community mural somewhere. So you know that's maybe a location that they could take ownership of. You know, that. So never even thought about that. It's a great idea. Yeah. Yep. No, I'm happy to move that they're, if they have the funding available, they can commence with the replacement of the section for the mural, and we can work our way through the rest of it. As far as the sculpture goes down at the in the Salvation Army grounds, I don't have an issue with it.
I think even the other one in front of, like Bowling Park already has lots of bits across the front of it.
Yeah.
Does the skate park, like, I don't think visually it's going to be too out of sorts with what's already there, because there's the skate parks, the signage, there's the swing set, the sitting area. I like the idea of kind of something a bit more cohesive to actually pull all of that together. I think the arts trail was one of the things with the Waimate trail that has appealed to me the most. That's going to be our unique thing about this trail, is going to be the arts that go all the way through it. So in principle, it's something I really support.
I agree with Jackie. As an observer, I mean, together on behalf of the councillors, they're a motivated crew. I've got this idea. It's in a place. There's got to start somewhere. This track, and this is as good a place as any.
Mm.
And it's an area that's becoming enhanced. We've just done the playground. It can be made to look really good.
Yep.
So I'd like to support it.
Plus, anything that enhances pool usage through the summer.
Mm.
You know, when they come back, they might bring their dogs and go for a swim.
And it anchors the trail into town. Like, I like the idea of it starting in town.
Yep.
Like, it kind of gives a link out to it.
Righto. So the recommendations, that the report's accepted.
Probably the only thing I would ask is that they would give us, when they're closer to the final product, that we do actually get to see the renderings when they do it. Is that, you know, like, because at the moment it's kind of a little bit more conceptual. It would be nice to see what is going to go in.
Yeah, what the actual mural itself
Yeah,
looks
when
like.
they're at that point.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
listen, we've got a couple of council members that are tied up with it. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to bring us once they've got a decent drawing to show us.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
So just before we move forward,
Yep.
Mr Mayor, do you want to make that conditional upon them proceeding?
No, I think we need
No,
to give
no.
them the opportunity to go ahead with it. It would just be nice to stay in the loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
if
as I
that
said,
makes sense.
we've got two members that are tied up with it. I'm sure
Yeah.
John Petey can keep us up to date with how they're proceeding and that sort of thing. And I've never seen a bad Bill Scott painting yet, so.
No, exactly.
Exactly.
I don't think that that's going to be an issue.
And we know that Waimate together deliver because of the Wales.
Yep.
And Lynn Hewitt's done it, so
Very high standard. Yeah, Lynn's work's amazing.
So do we need to add anything in for our section of the text?
No.
Just leave it as it is. We'll just work through that through
Separate issue.
the user process. Okay, so we've got recommendations 1 and 2 on page 125. Move Councillor Guildford, second to Councillor Harrison. Put the motion, all in favour say aye. Against, carried. Thank you for that, Steve.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Cheers, Steve.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Steve.
So just quickly moving into public excluded.
Just
Oh, okay, yes.
Yep, so if somebody,
So through you, Mr Mayor, sorry, what does appear online sometimes is we move to go into public excluded, the camera's switched off before the resolution is set by you. And I just think a matter of process to make it more complete is make sure that that is formalised. You just wait 30 seconds, switch the camera
It's
off.
clear. Yeah.
Thank you.
so mover and second, mover to Councillor Stevens, second to Councillor Guildford. Put the motion, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you for that.
councillor Carroll.
So on to the workshop.
No, closure of the council.
Oh, yes, right, okay,
And
close all.
then we'll close this live stream, I think, because the workshop's scheduled to start at
Separate.
12 and we have a.
Yeah, okay. So, all that business being taken care of, I'll declare the council meeting closed. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and we will cease the live stream and we will recommence the live stream at 12 for the workshop. Thank you very much.